Hi, I'm Dr. Caroline Leaf, and welcome to my podcast, Cleaning Up the Mental Mess. In today's podcast, I'm going to be speaking about 3 tips to boost your energy. And the reason why I chose to do this is because so many people keep asking me, and listen, I ask myself the same question: how can I get more energy? There's so much to do. I feel so overwhelmed. I feel so burnt out. So there's some amazing tips. I'm going to give you 4 tips today that will help boost your energy and will help with that. I use them, and when I don't, I battle. So these are some real great energy boosting hacks to help you get that burnout under control. But before we begin, I just wanted to remind you that if you want to listen to this podcast or any of my podcasts ad-free, then subscribe to my Patreon account. The link and details will be in the show notes. And as I said, you can listen to this ad-free and all my other podcasts, and there is bonus content in there as well as live Q&As that I will be doing. So back to today's podcast. Okay, so how many times have you felt like you're overwhelmed, burnt out, just too much to do, can't handle it, exhausted? I hold your head and say, oh, I'm so tired. My brain is just so tired. I just need a break. So I've done this often, and I know how to manage it. I recognize when it happens. And as I said, that when I don't do this, I really battle. So first of all, let's talk about why do we get tired? And then I'm going to give you 4 tips. So the reason that we get tired is because our nonconscious mind, which operates 24/7, which never stops for 1 second, which helps you function during the day, helps you pull up all these thoughts within memories that you need to go through the day, that helps you basically get through the day, helps you manage your body, helps you manage your brain, helps you recognize when you've got some issues going on in your life or you're worked up or whatever. It is brilliant. Your non-conscious mind's amazing. Works when you're asleep. It works to help you sort out and housekeep when you're asleep. It helps to prepare you for the next day. It never gets tired because when it stops, you're dead, basically. So your non-conscious mind never stops going. Full of energy, quantum speed energy. Your conscious mind is limited. It has less energy. It's slower. It works hand in hand with the energy levels of the brain, and the brain gets very tired. So when the non-conscious mind and the conscious mind are working together through the physical brain and body, there's a lot of energy that is being used, and that energy basically wears out. Exactly like your cell phone, if you have a whole ton of apps open on your cell phone and you have it on bright and you constantly talking on it and doing lives and whatever, the battery wears down and you have to recharge your battery. So that's kind of what the brain and the conscious mind function like. The non-conscious mind is a constant energy source, as I said. So non-conscious, the source of everything, okay? Your conscious mind is only awake when you're awake, and it uses your brain when you're awake, and the brain and the conscious mind need to have breaks. So you need to sleep at night for your brain and body to regenerate and get that break, a big break. And then you need to, and that also gives your conscious mind a break, because your conscious mind's very deliberate and intentional. It's working really hard to think and feel and choose about the stuff during the course of the day, guided by the non-conscious. So that's why it gets so tired. So now, if we get very stimulated and which happens to me a lot, I get super excited about my work, and I will be doing research for, like, I'm writing a new book at the moment on mental health for kids. I've got multiple clinical trials running, and very, like you, I'm busy, okay? So I get super into everything I'm doing to the point where I can sometimes feel like my brain is tired, like I already mentioned. So what I've learned to do, and what I've also discovered from my research, is that when we do push beyond the limits of the conscious and the physical brain and the body, we may feel like we can still keep going, and we are keeping going. Maybe you're now back home from work and you're making dinner for the kids and the family, or you are going out, or you're doing whatever you are, male, female, whatever you do, whatever you're doing after a hard day's work or whatever, you're still going, but you're feeling that really worn out. And then it's carrying over, maybe it's the middle of the day and you're really feeling like that. Okay, so essentially what we're needing to do is to give ourselves special little reboots during the course of the day, and special little reboots, various different types of reboots during the course of the day. So as we go through the day, absolutely everything that we are experiencing is being processed by the conscious mind with the help of the non-conscious mind and the brain into the brain. So every experience, and we have around about, on average, and it's really difficult to estimate this, but it's on average about 8,000 experiences a day. So it's really busy, our brain. And this is why the physical brain and conscious mind need little breaks. So there's a lot of, I'm just looking at my notes here, I don't want to miss anything. There's a lot of neuroplasticity happening, the changes in the brain, and that takes a lot of energy. So, and everything builds in, some good stuff, bad stuff, the joke, the fun stuff, the great exciting things, and the negative things. All of them are being built into your brain and draining energy out of your brain. Okay, so this is why we need to be careful, because if we don't watch out, we can get tired without realizing we're tired, because your non-conscious mind you can almost be deceived, not in a negative, not in a, like a bad way, that your non-conscious mind's not out to get you. Your non-conscious mind's there to make you function as best you can. But we can get so caught up that we can be deceived and think, okay, I've still got energy. But your creativity's going, and you're feeling maybe a bit sad, or even a little bit depressed or edgy, or there's a shift that occurs, and I've watched this in myself, and maybe you can relate to this, that you like going and everything's fine, and then suddenly you feel this edginess, this sadness, this maybe a little bit depressed, or maybe a little bit like a hovering anxiety, or just not yourself, and you go from this high almost to this low, and it's kind of sudden. And, you look and you see, oh, gosh, everything I've done is all stupid. Meanwhile, an hour ago or 10 minutes ago, you were so excited about what you were doing. That's a signal for you that you have not rested your conscious mind and your brain sufficiently, and that you're heading towards an overwhelm. And if you keep living in that pattern where you just push through that, and then you kind of sort of eventually sort of collapse in front of the TV or whatever, but you haven't really switched off properly, it accumulates over time, and then eventually get to the point where you really just feel completely and utterly burnt out, and it's harder then to restore. You can always restore, but it's harder. So I like to be proactive in this process, and this is what these 4 tips are now going to help you, how to be proactive in boosting your energy. The first tip is that every 30 to 45 minutes, even 60 minutes, take anything from a 30-second to a 2-minute little thinker moment break, where you literally do the following. You switch off to the external, you switch on to the internal, and that means that you close your eyes or keep them open and stare off into space, or stare out the window, or stare at something pretty, or stare at a plant, anything where you kind of go into the zone and you just let your mind wander, and you just let your mind daydream. This reboots the default mode network. In the brain, it activates it, which is a very important network inside your brain that helps you, that's working very hard processing everything, but it gives it a little bit of a rest, a little bit of a reboot, and then as you come back out of that stage, you'll feel so much more energized. So, like, if I'm going for 30 to 45 minutes to an hour and I don't do this, I'll definitely sense a sudden shift in my creativity. So creativity and emotions are like 2 signals, how you're feeling, because your mood will suddenly shift, and irritability, frustration, a little bit of sadness, a little bit of just something's not right. Something's off in your emotions, and then also in your creativity, when your creativity stops dropping. So let's say you're writing that great email, you're busy with something, and it just like you can't work out what to say next, or you filming something or whatever, and you just need to take that. Those are signs for you. So creativity drops, and if there's a shift in your emotions, and they're not that obvious in the first 45 minutes or the first 60 minutes, but as the day goes on, they become more and more obvious. So now I want you to really train yourself to look for a shift in your emotions and a shift in your creativity. And as you do that, and try to be aware, like every 45 to 60 minutes, it's going to start happening. And sometimes you can miss it because, as I said, in the first few hours of the day, you've still got more energy, and it may not hit you, but it could hit you within, early afternoon or something like that. So look for those, and then force yourself to take that little thinker moment, even if you're on a flow. So as I said, I'm writing this new book on mental health for children at the moment, and I was in such a flow the other day. And trust me, I'm really disciplined about these 30-second to 1-minute little 2-minute little thinker moments. And I just got in this flow, and I skipped a couple of them and I just pushed through, and 3 hours later, I thought, wow, what happened? I'm drained. And so I realized I hadn't taken those breaks. So I was very conscious I took a longer break, and then I started doing the think a moment. So literally within 45 minutes to 60 minutes, every 45 to 60 minutes, I just look away, just daydream, close my eyes, let my mind wander, whatever thoughts are popping up. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll even think, oh, wow, that's amazing. That's something I must remember to do, or that's something that I need to work on, and I'll just maybe jot it down, back to work. I tell you, it's phenomenal at keeping your flow going. In this day and age where our attention is drawn all over the place by everything, our flow gets disrupted. And this think a moment is such a phenomenal way of you checking in and keeping your flow going, okay? And if you add these other 3 tips I'm going to give you, you're going to keep in that state of flow. And flow means that you're paying good attention, your focus is good, your creativity is up there, you're not going to be thrown off by your attention being stolen and that exhaustion that follows, okay? Second tip. So first of all, the first tip is a 30-second to 2-minute think a moment, more or less every 45 to 60 minutes. 30 to 45 to 60 minutes. The second tip is after 3 of those sessions, so after anything from, an hour and a half to 3 hours, take at least 30 minutes, where you get up and maybe do some stretches, grab a cup of coffee, play with the dog, check your social media, call your mom, call your dad, call your husband, call your wife, call your girlfriend, watch a funny TikTok, anything, have a little snack. Just give yourself that 30 minutes where you don't think about your work. Don't in those 30 minutes mull the stuff over. Discipline yourself in those 30 minutes not to think of what you have been doing. It allows what you have been doing to settle down. It allows the neurons that are, the little dendrites that are growing, the little proteins that are holding this information that you have been growing in your brain, and all the other thoughts that have been activated while you do whatever it is that you're doing. It allows a rest period where they once again reboot themselves. Okay, but we need a longer one, more or less after every 3rd session. And a session is anything from 30 to 60 minutes. I tend to do 45 to 60 minutes. So 3 of those, then I take this 30-minute break. Okay, so you take a longer break, do something out of that space. The first one, the thinker moments, you can do in the space where you're at. You can even have your hand on the keyboard and just stare at the keyboard, and you're letting your mind wander. The second one is you physically move away from wherever you are, do some movement, eat, drink, whatever, but you're not allowing yourself to think about your work. So you're physically moving, etc. So the third tip is try to limit the intensiveness for your day. Now you're probably thinking, that won't work for me. So listen to what I mean, okay? We're all busy, okay? But we're pretty good at being busy. I'm not asking you to be less busy. I'm just helping you get more organized, okay? So your day is intense. I'm not asking you to change that. I'm not asking you to cut things out or throw things away, or because you've got to get through a certain amount in a day. I'm advising you, I should say, to approach it differently. Take the intensity level off, okay? And the way that you do that is by being more organized and by planning more. So let me read you what I've written. Try to limit the intensiveness of the length of your day of work. So you do that with time. So try and do shorter time. So if you're doing 12 hours every day, that's kind of a lot. Try and bring that back if you can to 8 hours, because I can tell you now 8-9 hours is the limit where your creativity is going to be good. That other 4 to 5 hours that you tag on, you're going to be doing in 4 to 5 hours what you would have done in probably 30 minutes. So if anything, go 30 minutes over the 8 to 9 hours, but if you do 12, 15 hours, there is going to be a creativity drop-off. You're going to not have as good quality. Now, there is the odd day where you actually can have a 15-hour quality day, but you will pay the price the next day. So I try in general not to allow myself to do it. And every now and then I fall in that trap. I'll get in a flow. I did it last week one day. I hadn't done it for a while. And I did it this week one day because I got into such a flow with the work I was doing. So I ended up doing, the one was a 12-hour day. The one was a 15-hour day. Everything I was doing was what I love. I was taking my thinker moments. I was taking my 30-minute breaks and doing all of that. I took dinner breaks, etc. But I just kept going. And it's suddenly, the next day after the 12-hour stint, the 15-hour stint, both of the next days, I did not have the same creativity. And I didn't know until I got into a meeting and I had to be super creative. And I just couldn't think of, normally I'm filled with ideas. in meetings, and I couldn't get them out. They were there. It was like they were stuck. Then I had to film some stuff for Instagram Lives and TV and all kinds of stuff, and I had to be short and succinct and quirky and quick. I tell you, I was useless. They were so bad. I had to stop. So even though I didn't feel mentally and physically exhausted because I had slept well, the intensiveness of my previous day literally spilled over into the next day. And it literally took me a day to recover. So that day was not very productive, and I got kind of frustrated. So I'm not going to fall for that again. I think I was testing the bounds of my limits and thinking, does this? Oh, I can go 15 days. Every now and then I get really stupid and do that, but I know I can't. And that's why I'm so emphatic about this. So guys, limit the intensiveness of your day in terms of the hours. Try and be very disciplined with your hours that you work, and make sure that you're taking those, adding the thinker moments and the 30 minutes in. And if you can take a nice long, slightly longer than 30 minutes, that's also great. And then have a time that you actually end off the day. That you actually, sometimes, as I said, you've got to do a couple of extra things, but try and have a break after that 8 hours, a nice long 3-4 hour break. And if there's an email or something that just has to be done, just make sure that you've had a decent 3-4 hour break, and then half an hour and then stop. Okay, really important. That's what I mean by intensiveness, because we will deceive ourselves and think we're being intense, but actually the quality of that time has been reduced dramatically. And as I said, it bears repeating. You do 3 extra hours beyond the 8-9 hours, and now the quality has dropped so much that it actually is only about half an hour's work. So, as I said, take a little break if you have to finish one more email or something, and then limit the time of whatever work you do after the slightly longer break. Okay, and then the fourth tip, which is really, all these 4 together will change your life. I swear you'll have so much more energy. The fourth tip, be as deliberate about switching off as you were about switching on. So you wake up in the morning, you switch into your life, and whatever you have to do, be as deliberate about that as switching off. So what do I mean by that? When I stop my 8-hour day or my 9-hour day, and I've done all my little 30, the 30 second to 1 to 2 minute breaks every 30 seconds. I've taken my 30-minute break every third sort of session, and I have controlled the intensiveness of my day. This fourth tip is when I do stop, I am super deliberate about not thinking about work. So I don't think, okay, well, I'll get in the bath and I'll do some more research. I used to do that, but that's going to take my creativity away. I'm going to allocate that rather for the morning or something. I'm going to get in that bath, and this is what I love to do. I either get in my sauna, if I haven't saunaed yet, and I'll watch some movie. Jane the Virgin's my favorite at the moment. I'm busy going through that series Ted Lasso I went through before. I watch all the medical things like Grey's Anatomy and Chicago Med. I love these things. And I sit and I watch those. And as much as I know, I've got to do this, I ignore it. I put it out of my mind. If my husband, or I've got 3 of my kids, my 4 kids work for us, if someone sends me an email, I have to have this now, unless it's urgent, life and death. I tell them I'm not an ER doctor, so if it can wait till tomorrow, it waits till tomorrow. I really create a very strong definition of now I am going to switch off. Go for a walk with my dogs, have a sauna, get in a hot bubble bath for 2 hours and watch some movies or whatever and collapse into bed. So in other words, I don't know what it changes for me quite a lot, but that's I do that kind of combination. But I make sure that I use that time to really, really let my conscious mind and my physical brain rest, like funny things and laughter. And that's why I like watching things like Ted Lasso and Jane the Virgin, where there's a message, but there's also that sense of humor, which is also really relaxing and builds resilience. Okay, so tip 1, very quickly, is the 30 second to 2 minute break every 30 to 60 minutes. The second one is every third session, take at least a 30-minute break where you physically move away from your computer or whatever it is that you're doing, and do not allow yourself to think of your work in that time. The third one is be very deliberate about changing the intensiveness of your day. And the fourth one is be very deliberate about your relaxation time, that it's really total switch off time and not half work, half switch off. I hope that helps you get lots of energy. Send me some messages on DM me, or put some message on this on YouTube, whatever, wherever you want to, on podcast. Send me a comment and feedback, and send me a 5-star rating. Listen, guys, the more you rate me, I'm always going to bring you great content, but it really helps get this message out to more and more people. And as you know, I have lots of things to share, and I get super excited about what I've got to share because I'm sharing from authenticity. I'm sharing from my scientific experience, my clinical experience, but also from my life experience as a mom, as a working mom, as a business owner, as a mother of 4, as a friend, etc. I bring that combination to you to try and help you because I know how much help I need, seriously. So everything I say, I'm actually doing and telling myself at the same time. So thanks for joining me, and I look forward to chatting next time.